Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and now that my two informative videos are done for the day, you guys know what time it is. It's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And today we're going to talk about V-Shred again. This is about the third video I've had to do about this guy. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about it. Because this one was by popular request. A bunch of people were like, oh man, did you see V-Shred's video about backwards flies? And I'm like, what? And that's actually how I found the deadlift video yesterday that I did, was actually looking for that one, and I couldn't find it, so I gave up. But fortunately, one of my subscribers was kind enough to not only link his video, but Jeff Cavalier, Athlean-X's video response to it, which pretty well summed it up. It summed it up, because honestly what I was thinking was that this was going to be him like doing a reverse fly. It turns out he's talking about his chest. I thought it was going to be like a rear delt exercise or something, maybe doing a reverse fly on a pec deck or whatever. But no, it was a fly turning your body instead of moving the cable. Here's the thing. He's just kind of easy to call out at this point. Because what you have is you have a guy who's obviously spent some money on marketing, trying to blow his channel up, doing his thing, who is new to lifting. Let's just be honest. He literally knows less than most first-year lifters. Like I can tell you right now, my average subscriber to my channel who's been here for a year knows probably 5 times what he does about weight training. Easily 5 times. And I mean, and it's pretty bad. I mean, he's literally at that novice level of knowledge to where he doesn't know the names of the exercises, doesn't understand the basics of hypertrophy, strength, technique. He doesn't know how to perform at least half the lifts that I see him doing. And he's just got exercise ADHD, like all these noobs who think you need 37 or 40 different exercises just trying to build a base. And he still is at novice level size and strength. He's a guy who, if I were to talk to him at the gym, see him training, what he's lifting, his overall size, I would think he's been in the gym less than a year. And that's okay. We all have to start somewhere. There's nothing wrong with starting. But you probably shouldn't try to sell yourself as an expert when you have only a few months of practical experience training, and that's basically what he has. And this is a perfect example. He's talking about new terms that he's probably learned about concentric, eccentric, isometrics, and claiming that you need all 3 of those for hypertrophy. Actually, you don't. That's not even based on reality. Isometrics, which is what he was trying to focus on here, I'm going to say is probably the least useful for size or strength. I am not a fan of isometric training. You guys know that. I don't see the merit in it. I really don't see the point. Particularly for someone who is really trying to put on size and strength, I just can't visualize a need for isometric work. And a lot of people are going to argue with that. That's okay. I just don't see the point. And no, it doesn't produce particularly impressive hypertrophy, not compared to actually lifting. And that's the thing. It's the same thing with the concentric and eccentric. Eccentric is like anything else. It can be a useful tool for hypertrophy, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary. There are protocols and programs out there that have put large amounts of muscle on people with 0 eccentric work. 0. And I'm not trying to downplay the role of eccentric reps. I'm not trying to downplay it. But let's be honest here. They aren't required for muscle growth. They're a very useful tool in the toolbox. And that's the best way to look at them. But they're not essential. They're certainly not a requirement, but they're a valuable tool in certain regards for hypertrophy. And they have their place. But you don't have to actually do eccentric reps to stimulate maximum muscle size. You could do concentric only lifts where you drop the weight. And turn loose of things and all sorts of stuff. You really could. You could do eccentric chin-ups and let go at the top. You could do concentric dips and turn loose and have something to catch you safely at the bottom. I wouldn't recommend that, but it's possible. But you get into things like rows, deadlifts, cleans. All those muscles can be built maximally that are worked in those exercises using concentric only training. Can be done. So he's already kind of off to a bad start. And then trying to focus on isometric training. Well, the funny thing is you have Jeff actually came in and had in his video, for those of you who've seen it, Jeff going into some real science. I mean, Jeff's got a physical therapy background. He works with real athletes, has a real science background. He knows his science. I may not agree with everything that Jeff says, but he's a pretty smart guy, got a lot of experience, pretty well educated. Probably don't want to go toe to toe with him arguing about the science of human biomechanics. Most people probably are not qualified to do that. I don't know that I'd be comfortable arguing biomechanics with Jeff. I'd be comfortable arguing programming, training programming, getting athletes stronger, but I don't think I would win a debate against Jeff regarding physiology. Let's just be honest here. He beat me. He beat me in that debate. So yeah, he made a total jackass out of V-Shred, because he had his guy doing the same thing that he saw him doing. It's like, well, I'm focused on the isometry. He's like, there's no resistance, because he's basically taking a cable fly and holding your arm out and turning your body in while leaving the weight stack and everything stationary and then squeezing the chest. And the thing is, he's talking about this is a great way to build a big chest, but he doesn't have a big chest. Granted, I agree with the argument that you don't necessarily have to achieve something physical to understand how it's done. I don't want people to think that at all. I can tell you guys the process how which you get to an ultra low body fat. You don't see me walking around shredded, but I can tell you that the best way to get there is reduce your calories over time. Maintain a modest caloric deficit for an extended period of time. Get enough protein and don't develop any dietary deficiencies, and you'll get pretty lean. I don't need to be ripped to tell you that. Every person who's ever gotten ripped who didn't use drugs to do it used that process. It's not particularly complicated. Now the appetite end is appropriate. But the thing is, this guy doesn't have a chest. He doesn't know how to train the chest. He has no strength base. Just like we saw in his bench press video, he doesn't even know how to perform the bench press. And, you know, like a lot of people would tell me, well, gee, Jason, you could be a lot more ripped if you just reduced your calories. You know, you guys are absolutely right. If I reduced my current calories starting right now for the next year, I would probably, actually not even probably, I would 100% chance be a lot leaner. I'm just not in the mood to starve myself. I'm trying to get strong. I'll get leaner again later. I did a 30-pound cut last year. I'll get leaner later. But, you know, that would be sound advice. And I don't think anyone would disagree with that. If you guys were to give me that advice, can we make a good argument against that? I don't think that we can, because we know that's how it works. Well, here would be my advice to V-Shred. If V-Shred wants to build a big chest, he needs to go ahead and get his strength base up on all his pressing. He needs to learn how to bench press properly. He needs to learn the proper bar path, how to touch his chest correctly, how to get scapular retraction so that he can get a nice pause. And he needs to go ahead and get his bench press up to about 300 pounds, which I think is a good goal for a healthy, fit young man like him, because he is young. He's got youth on his side. Got all that recovery, those high levels of natural testosterone. There's no reason a healthy young man his age can't get their bench press up to 300 pounds with a pause. Let's get his overhead press, his standing barbell press up to 200 pounds. Maybe get his strength up on some weighted dips. You know what? And if he built a base on those 3 exercises, he would probably double or triple the size of his current chest. That's all it would take. He needs to go ahead and build a base on some basic exercises, because that's how you get big, guys. Basic exercises, progressive overload, get strong. And anyone who says, well, strength and size don't correlate when you're not on drugs, they do. Oh, yeah. The only guys who get really big who are still weak are on bucket loads of drugs. Right? That's the only way it happens. And guys are natural. The biggest naturals are usually the strongest on the big basic movements. And I don't necessarily always mean they're 1 rep max. I mean they're all around strength. They're 5 rep max, they're 8 rep max, they're 10 rep max. They're usually pretty strong, because there is a strong overlap and a relationship between size and strength, and on the big compound movements and overall size. You know, again, you have a guy right there who has no pressing strength. He's all bicep, all delt. Looks like that's the only thing he trains. Talking about building a chest. Well, if he also has no triceps though either. If he just got strong on the bench and the overhead press and the weighted dip, his chest would come up tremendously and his triceps would come up too. He'd be a lot bigger. But that's the problem, is that you have a guy who has not only no base built advising how to get bigger, how to gain muscle. It's a guy who doesn't actually know the process either. He doesn't know the process. Now, a lot of people would say, well, who are fans, why I like his physique. Well, his physique doesn't require the amount of complexity that he throws into the training. You don't need any sort of complex training to have the muscle mass that he has. You don't even need complex training to have another 10 or 15 pounds more muscle than he has. That's rather the point. If all you want to do is get to where he is, it won't take you very long to get there. You probably just need to starve yourself down, do a few curls, maybe do a few chin-ups and some overhead pressing. You'll be there in 3 months. That's all it would take for most guys out there. That's all it would take. Work on your weighted chin-up, your overhead press, and cut your calories back and do some cardio. You'll be where he is within a few months of walking into a gym. Doesn't require any complexity for that. He doesn't have a base built yet. He is still way into the novice level of training. And he's only got a couple of muscles that have any development at all, and they're not maximally developed. They're nowhere near his natural limit. So again, that doesn't require that much to get it done. So he throws out all this complexity, and the thing is, what he was describing doesn't even work, and there is no resistance on the chest, which is what Jeff made fun of. There's no resistance there. I did get no resistance there. No resistance there. Because there isn't. It's not doing anything. You're just squeezing your chest. And just flexing and squeezing a muscle when you're not loading additional resistance and overload and the muscle isn't doing more work doesn't really stimulate growth. That's not how it works. You're not going to get more developed from doing that. You might get a hair more muscle tone, but it's not going to improve further over time. And you're certainly not going to gain noticeable amounts of muscle mass from doing some isometric squeezing. And even Jeff pointed that out. If you want a muscle to get strong, the best way to get a muscle strong, or to get a muscle bigger, is to get it stronger, and by training it through an effective range of motion with progressive overload over time. It's a very simple concept. And what he's demonstrating isn't that. And again, we're coming back to a point of a guy who's just learning a bunch of different concepts, doesn't really know what he's doing. He has no clue what he's doing, has no clue what he's talking about. He's obviously very, very, very new to working out. And he's never bothered to master the basics. And he wants to teach a lot of complex things that actually don't even work anywhere near as well as the basics when he doesn't even know the basics. Again, but that appeals to this generation, doesn't it? All hype, all marketing, no substance. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.